Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of Behind the Final Call cover story. I know it's been a little while since you've seen us, but hey, things happen, but we still right here back for you. This week we are looking at cover story, A Good Man and His Good Work, referring to Father Pfleger. This is volume number 40, number 37. Date on the paper is June 22nd. And of course, as I always ask, Brother Naba, why this cover story?
Excuse me. Ooh, that was kind of funny. Guess we haven't been on for a while. First of all, assalamu alaikum. This story was important because Father Michael Pfleger, the activist priest who has led this community, the faith community of St. Sabina in Chicago, for many years. We wanted to kind of offer the readers across the country an opportunity to learn about really a man who is an incredible human being and who has continued to serve our people, continue to try to build in the Inglewood and the Chatham communities. And despite opposition, despite different things, he remains there. So there were some charges lodged against him that have now been found to be unsubstantiated. So he is back. This is a man who has walked the streets of our city in the evenings on Friday nights trying to recruit people out of drugs and violence and gangs. This is a man who has engaged in community development and the building of institutions like senior housing. This is a man who has been relentless in his calling to the city and to the country and to leaders to do justice by Black people and to stop the violence. And this is a man who is really, he's a true public servant. So read this week's cover story. It's by Sister Anisa Muhammad, another great story by this young up-and-coming Black Muslim female writer. But read it for yourself. And I think you will find it inspiring. I think you will find it enlightening. I think you will find that if we all just decide that we are going to get involved and we are going to be of service, we can have an incredible impact on the lives of our people. And of course, Father Michael Pfleger is a Catholic priest, and he was inspired by the work, the example of Dr. Martin Luther King. So he is truly one of those who has embraced not just the image of Dr. King, not just the word, but the mission of Dr. King. He's also, Father Pfleger has been a longtime friend and comrade to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he has never repudiated the minister, regardless of what was said to him. So he's a man of service, a man of character, a man of integrity. And we're pleased to tell his story this week.
Thank you. Of course, as always, we have a paper that's full of a lot of important information and stories that you need to be aware of, and that, of course, some of them may be covered in other media sources, but they're definitely not covered the same way. So we always look for and appreciate that alternative perspective than what the dominant media sources provide. And want to just encourage those, since we haven't been on in a while and people like, where you been, what's going on, please make sure that you like and share and invite your family, friends, and even those who may be your enemies, because after they're hearing this light-giving message, that those who were your foes may become your friends. So go ahead and please like and share. Please support the Final Call newspaper. So I'm going to go ahead and jump around a little bit. There's an article, and you've been providing a beautiful summary that I've been utilizing as the description, and an article that you referenced, and I'm going to go ahead and jump to that one, is an international story, and that can be found on page 17, and that's Nigeria, a nation in turmoil due to internal conflict, and external interference. Why this article?
Well, you know that Nigeria is by population the largest nation in Africa. You actually have had challenges there, and you had some foreign policy uh, experts that deemed Nigeria to be a failed state. So we wanted to look at that because we always have to be examining um, what is happening in the world. What is the status of Black people in the world? And so Nigeria is a very important nation on the continent. And so read the article for yourself. Read the analysis about some of the challenges that Nigeria faces, as well as the great potential that Nigeria faces. And hopefully we can begin or we can continue to stay more engaged with our brothers and sisters on the continent, where we can be more engaged with U.S. foreign policy and where we can find ways to collaborate so that we work to solve problems on the motherland while we also work to create opportunities and solve problems in America. Everybody is in Africa. The Chinese, the Saudis, the Arabs, the Indians. Where are we? And why shouldn't we be? Why shouldn't we be working with our brothers and sisters on the continent, in particular when you see huge corporations trying to steadily erode the independence and sidetrack the progress of Nigeria and other nations that have vast resources, vast populations, vast untapped potential. So go on to page 17 and read that for yourself.
Thank you, Brother Naba. And I know I'm jumping around a little bit, just to change it up a little bit, but want to go back. And of course, I know those when I brought this one up, everybody saw that editorial, but I want to say that a little bit later. But I want to go back, and of course, on a weekly basis, we have been providing very insightful perspectives and views and information that you need to be aware of as it relates to COVID-19. So you can find on page 8, the killing fields, U.S. government suppresses safe and effective treatment for COVID-19 in favor of deadly vaccines. Why?
Yeah. I mean, this is again, this is a piece by Dr. Ridgely Muhammad, and you should read it and see what he argues and how he talks about and raises the question: why is there such a push? And the push appears to be really for vaccines only, as well as no looking at general health status of people, no looking at different treatments that may be more effective or treatments that can actually save people's lives without having them undergo an experimental vaccine. And why do we call it experimental? We call it experimental because it still has not received final FDA approval. It has received approval based on the crisis of the moment. And then, as a result of that approval and the continued accumulation of data, at some point, the government is supposed to come back and reevaluate. But we say, brothers and sisters, look, there's a lot of unknowns about this vaccine. There's a lot of unknowns about how long does it protect you. Um, can you give other people COVID when you're asymptomatic? I mean, so there's all kinds of questions. And we now publish every week a report about vaccine deaths and injuries, which comes directly from the federal government. Why? Because we want you to have the actual facts.
Thank you, Brother Nava. And of course, we still, as always, encourage you to visit the resources that we have on the NOI website. So if you go to noi.org, there's a tab right there on that first page that provides resources for, we're not just telling you not to take the vaccine, although we're telling you that, is that there's a resource that you can go to, noi.org/vaccine, which provides
Okay,
some
Brother Troy.
historical perspectives of what's going on and what's been going on. So please make sure you check that out. Oh, okay. So Brother Naba must have had some technical issues, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down and make sure that I bring up that link that I just referenced, and inshallah, he'll get him back on, and there he is right there.
All right, we're
Thank you,
back.
Brother Naba, for getting back on. Of course, the technology, once in a while we have issues, but we still work through it by Allah's permission. So right there, you can see scrolling at the bottom of the screen, noi.org/vaccine, resources that provide a historical perspective on what's going on and why we should not necessarily listen to what the dominant narrative is on taking the vaccine. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the commitment of not only Brother Dr. Ridgely, but the commitment for the Final Call newspaper and those supporting staff that have made sure that every week that we're providing information and insight that will help our people. Not just help our people to live a better life, but to help our people literally live and have a life. So I want to jump ahead to what we have right here. It's page 12. And very saddening story. But I thought I was going to die that night. Louisiana police unit probed over black driver arrest. Unfortunately, not new, but can you give us some deeper insight on
Yeah,
this?
well, this is of course the unfortunate, and it's not just unfortunate. It is the vicious beating, torture, and some would say the killing of this brother, Ron Green, by a division or a unit of the Louisiana State Troopers. And it's terrible. Not only that this brother died, he was beaten, he was tased, he was abused right on the highway, um, unarmed, compliant, ended up dying. And the circumstances of his death and the video around his death was held for 2 years. His family was told he simply died in a car accident. Subsequent to that, now this information has come out, and it's been horrific. It's been horrific, and now more and more information is coming out showing that it wasn't just the brother, Ronald Green, but this seemed to be a way that this particular unit dealt with black people in general, black men in particular. So we really want you to read that piece and consider what it is that we're saying, because what we're saying is that this is not going to change, brothers and sisters. We only know about Ronald Green's death, what happened to him, the harshness, the brutality, the heartlessness. We only know because someone leaked the video. How many more videos are there that we have not seen? Right? How much more information is there out there that loved ones are have a family member and they have a suspicion, or they have a pain, or they just have questions, and they're told that the case is resolved, but then it turns out that it isn't. So now this Louisiana State Police Unit, state troopers, are now being subjected to an internal investigation. But what we want to do, brothers and sisters, always is to awaken you to the reality of what you are dealing with. And your treatment at the hands of these so-called people proves that they are the enemy, that they are Satan, that they are the slave master children, they are the devil, because you see over and over again, they delight in shedding our blood. So please read it. It's a really extensive piece. I mean, but it just brings us face to face with reality. We are never going to live with those people in peace. Never will we live with white people in peace. So we need to separate on our own terms. We need to own our own communities. And we need to take our destiny in our own hands. We cannot depend on this country to make a way for us when this country cannot even make a way for itself. And not only that, but this country hates black people. So at a certain point, just pure logic says to us, we got to preserve, protect, and defend one another. And we must get up and do something for ourselves.
Praise you to Allah. Thank you, Brother Nabin. Of course, this always, and we can't say it enough, but it reflects what we're given in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that separation is not just a solution, but separation is the best and only solution that we have. And, we don't have to talk about it as a pipe dream. If you continue to follow the work that Student Minister Ava has been doing with Project Separation, that it's moving into the next phase of not just proposing it, and our people who have showed a very overwhelming support to the idea. But beyond that is that we see that people are doing it. People are buying land. People are our brothers and sisters, and I can't think of their names. The two sisters who launched the city in Georgia, but it started with them really having young male children and having black husbands and saying, you know what, if we continue to live amongst them, then it's inevitable at some point in time that we're going to be feeling the pain and this death, basically, from those who have no remorse, no love, no concern, except for their lives, and in many instances take joy in the taking of ours. So we have people who are buying land, and the final call has shared many of those or some of those stories, and inshallah we'll continue to look forward to seeing that people are not just talking about it, but it's something real, because there are people who are actually making steps to do that.
Yeah,
So
we just have to strike out on our own. We don't have any other choice. We got to strike out on our own. But remember, when you strike out on your own, Allah God Himself moves
that's
to
right.
assist you. So what better friend can you have than God Himself? What better comforter? What better source of strength? So we just got to make up our mind to do what we're going to do. Get good guidance, get good information, and go forward.
Yes, sir. Praise due to Allah. And that's the thing, is that we actually block our blessings by not moving forward. That we really are allowed to see God's force and His power is when we do those things. There's things that we, by Allah's grace and permission, already feel confident that we have the ability to do, and it's good to do those things. But it's when we go to that next level that we allow ourselves to really truly see Allah's hand in our personal affairs.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to keep on moving. Want to encourage you to check out the back episodes of Behind the Final Call cover story, and you can do that by going to thecollective9.org/behind the cover. And also make sure you get a subscription to the digital edition of the Final Call newspaper, which you can see scrolling at the bottom of your screen. And in addition to that, when you see the brothers out in the street, it's not just about a paper. It's not just about that. It's about supporting a movement and being informed from a different perspective on what's going on in our community about issues that concern the plight of Black people, in particular in the United States, but of course all over the world. And I want to thank those who are in the comments. Our people are seeing that there is no other way but to separate, and that is absolutely correct. All praises are due to Allah. Please make sure that you like and share this episode of Behind the Final Call cover story, and we're moving on. So we have another article that I want to jump to, of course, which is the editorial. And I believe this week, of course, that editorial is once again by you. The title, America's Deep Decline. Can you tell us why that title and what are you
Um,
talking about?
brother Troy, I think that's a very important because we have been teaching, we being the nation of Islam now for almost 100 years, the destruction and fall of America. So, what is it that we're seeing now? So, if you look at the article on page 3 in the paper, it talks about the level of distress, the level of destruction, the level of despair, and the level of division inside the American society and the toll that that is taking right now. The House cannot unite politically. They cannot unite economically in terms of what's best for the country. They cannot unite even on a vision for what America should be. So in the editorial, we asked the question in the midst of all of this going on, all of the political failures, the social failures, the economic failures, the unrest, the racial disharmony, if a country cannot have its own national identity, if a country cannot even define its own national interests, and after defining that national interest, decide what its priority should be, right? America. If America cannot chart a course for herself, what do we look like thinking that she can chart a course for us? She really just can't. And so we have to look at the signs, and the signs are there when you look economically in terms of poverty, and when you look at even some of the things that have come out about the obscene lack of any type of taxes paid by some of the richest people in the country. Meanwhile, you got people talking about some of the businesses talking about there's a labor shortage. But while they're talking about a labor shortage, they're not talking about paying people more money. They're not talking about giving people more benefits. They're not talking about improving working conditions. They're not talking about expanding opportunity. So essentially, what they want people to do is to return to being slaves and tools, and people are tired of it. When you look at the general level of discontent, violence in this country right now, and I'm not just talking about violence in the hood, I'm talking about mass shootings. I'm talking about a couple days ago where a cashier died, got shot to death because someone was asked to wear a mask or asked about a mask. So what I'm arguing, and you can read the editorial, is that we are watching, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said before, the unraveling of a great nation. But we can't just stand by and watch. We have to recognize what is going on. And after recognizing what is going on, we have to admit the truth. And then we have to do that to preserve our own lives. So you can read the editorial. And I really hope that you will. And I hope that you will read that page 3 story. Because these are very important matters that we should not be oblivious to. I mean, you just look at this thing every day, literally. In this country, there's a mass shooting. And I'm not just talking about two brothers in the hood that got into it. I'm talking about a country that has lost its soul long time ago and is now losing all illusion of civility and all pretense of civilization. Where does that leave us? It leaves us, if we are wise, charting a course for ourselves.
Praise be to Allah. Now that leads me to jump and maybe in a little different order than we normally do, but to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's article, Friendship of Allah, God. Can you tell us why that article was chosen and give us a little insight on what
Well,
is
I'll
covered?
say read it for yourself. But at a time like this, can you afford to have any friend other than God Himself? That's the whole point of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. The fundamental point, the fundamental reality that we are saying that God came for us. Okay? God came for us. So if God came for us, and He did, He came to rescue, save us, to elevate us. And the friendship of Allah is the most wonderful thing you can have because He is the one that can make all bow to His will, and none can make anyone bow, and none can make Him bow to their will. So, yeah, read about the friendship of Allah and why you need it, and why you need to reject the enemy that wants to drive you and me to our deaths, right? The friendship of Allah. That's what you need. You need someone with power. And we're not just talking about some spook mystery ghost. We're talking about the one that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about. The great Mahdi, God who himself in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, the one who has all power in the universe, except that which he himself has turned over to his servants. So this is a serious hour, brothers and sisters. Don't be misled. Don't be distracted. Don't be consumed with the foolishness of this world. Don't be consumed with the lies and the tricks of the enemy. Read for yourself what Minister Farrakhan says. Read for yourself what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. And then after reading what these two incredibly, and we say divinely guided men offer you, then you decide what you're going to do with your life. Because we are saying to you, things are not going to get better. Things are going to get worse. And so what we need is guidance, wisdom, understanding, and we need that supreme wisdom which will stop us from falling as the world falls down around us. And that supreme wisdom is contained in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You can take it or let it alone, but if I was you, I would at least pick up a book and read about it.
And that's absolutely the truth. Is that we're taught that Islam comes after all things, all else fails, and Islam basically means submission to do the will of God. So if you try after you've tried everything else, go ahead and try Islam. Try submitting your will to God. And then, of course, you mentioned the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, so I'm going to go ahead and just jump straight to his article, which can be found right after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's article. We must depend on Allah and ourselves.
Well, once you have Allah's friendship, Allah never breaks his promise. And so Allah as your friend, now you can depend on him. And you can go to work in his name, like many are. And you can now begin to build, and you can begin to do what is right in terms of what is right for the time. It's not the time we should be begging white people to save us. It's not the time that we should be lost and deprived. It's not the time when we should be slaughtering one another. It is the time when we should stand up and depend on Allah and ourselves. Because Allah has the power to protect us. He has the ability to make us successful. He can change circumstances to benefit us because he came to save us. So this is the day now. This is the time. And we're taught that a falling action brings about a rising action. So as America is going down, brothers and sisters, we should be coming up. So let's get together, let's unite, and let's rise to the heights that Almighty God Allah wants to take us.
All praise are due to Allah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Brother Naba. You know, I'm gonna take an opportunity to throw this in, and I do whenever I find it, which is always a time for it. But I want to encourage those who may not have had the opportunity to participate in the study group that is available for anyone. You can get more information about that study group at study.noi.org. Study.noi.org. You should see it at the bottom of your screen. But it's, of course, a study that was set up by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, self-improvement, the basis for community development. So as we're looking at improving our condition as individuals, we're told that the basis for self-improvement is the basis to improve our community. So we can't improve our communities if we're not improving the people that are in it. So I would encourage you to check us out, study.noi.org. We have a weekly virtual meeting that you are invited to. Go ahead and register for it today and join us at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for a beautiful discussion. Right now, we're closing out Study Guide 18, which was rising above emotions into the thinking of God. Rising above emotions into the thinking of God. And if we're going to improve our community, if we're going to improve ourselves, we're going to have to set a path to get into the mind of God. And this is where you can do it. 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. But go ahead and check out the website today, study.noi.org. Sign up. You can see what the weekly assignment is right now. As I mentioned, we closed out Study Guide 18, but we're kind of doing a review of it. We were engaged in this course of study, this particular one, Rising Above Emotions, for the past almost 9 months right now. So please come check us out. We look forward to you being there and to support this work. Brother Naba, what else do you have? Is there any other articles that I need to touch on before we move on?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. So again, like, subscribe, share this little session today, and keep coming back. We'll try to be a little bit more consistent, but share it, like it, follow, and so let's continue to work. But stay tuned, because by Allah's grace, we'll have something else for you next week. Now you don't want to miss it.
So speaking of next week, and one of those benefits, even though we may fade sometimes, one of the benefits of catching us is that sometimes we give you a little sneak peek. So there's a lot that's going on in the news right now, but what should we expect to hear and see in the next edition of the Final Call?
Well, we'll give you a little hint. Today, the Attorney General for the United States brought up the subject of domestic terrorism and talked about the need for this country to confront the problem of domestic terrorism. So, of course, the question becomes, what does that mean for white America? Like January 6th, people raiding the Capitol? But perhaps even more importantly, what does that mean for Black America, given the history of this country? So stay tuned and come on back.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing you there once again. Another episode of Behind the Final Call Cover Story. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you.